sometimes you find hidden gems. So I've been sprung. I'm no longer in quarantine according to my 5-day test. I'm corona-free, which I already knew because I've been tested so often and because I'm double vaccinated. But now it's official and the UK government says I can go about freely. Unfortunately, Lisa's test, something was wrong with the test itself. They couldn't scan a barcode or something, and so she's obliged to stay in quarantine. Pretty sad, that. But here I am, I think in Hindwood's Commons or something. It's really very close to where Wendy and James live. It's very close to Firth Park. But I'm the only one here in this little woods, this meadow, this field. And so I'm having my nice evening walk all by myself here in this large meadowy place, which looks very country, even though it's in the middle of the Firth Park area. And it's a lovely place. I thought I'd share it with you, let you see where I am and what I'm up to. But I had another reason, and that was to carry on with some meditation. And meditation is really just rumination. It's chewing it over. It's thinking about it. It's spending time on an idea, or a concept, or it's something you've read or thought about, or maybe an inspiration you've had, and you're kind of repeating it in your head. Well, today I read 1 John chapter 1 and discovered some things. And it's the blood of Jesus that cleanses us from all unrighteousness. It's the blood of Jesus that cleanses us. And I've been thinking about that. I've done a lot of cleansing and cleaning and little projects around that today, joyfully wanting to serve Wendy and James and River and make myself useful and use the quarantine well. But thinking of cleansing, thinking of cleaning, of whitening and bringing order and straightening, and the idea that the blood of Jesus cleanses us from all unrighteousness. It's the blood of Jesus that cleanses us. The idea that blood cleanses is a strange idea. The idea that blood cleanses, I think, if you didn't have kind of the Jewish history, it really would hardly make sense. But blood's attached to that whole idea of sacrifice, and sacrifice to do with sin and holiness and purity and being set apart, and the idea that something's not right and it has to be dealt with. It has to be, a lot of Bible words there, but atoned for, paid. And we think to ourselves, what does it mean? Why do I need to be cleansed? And where do I need to go that requires this cleansing? And this cleaning up, this purification, it's a weird thing. And yet it's not so weird. If I was working in the shed, out in the old loo out in the garden, and my hands were all dirty from soot, and I had my hands in the soil, and I had, who knows, come in contact with all kinds of stuff. And somebody came, and I was going to prepare a meal for them, then I would need to cleanse my hands. I'd need to purify my hands, because especially in this corona time, we're really aware. We're very aware that you can infect people, you can share germs, you can make somebody impure, and it's pretty dangerous. It could be life-threatening. It depends on what it is, but it could be really serious. So, in that context, cleansing starts to make sense. The blood of Jesus purifies us, cleanses us from all sin. And there's things we need to wash away. There's things we need to get rid of. We don't want to share it with somebody. We need to be shed of not only the possibility of making somebody impure, but there's penalties to be paid. I can walk around freely at the moment here in this meadow, really close to Firth Park, because I've passed my corona test on the 5th day. But Lisa can't. Now, the truth is, we don't think it was a problem with the barcode on the test. We don't think, we're 99% sure she doesn't have corona. But it doesn't really matter because the government's not sure. And they need certain assurances. They need a rule that applies to everybody. They need certain assurances. And if she's out here walking around with me, she'll get a fine. And we surely don't want that. So, you have this aspect that cleansing or purifying, it helps me kind of get ready for a meal. It helps me maybe not share my virus with somebody. But it also legally makes me free. And it makes me free from the fear of a fine. And so this idea that the blood of Jesus cleanses us from all sin is very similar. It has to do with a fine. It has to do with freedom. And so we need to be aware. That's kind of what I've been meditating on. We need to be aware that this cleansing from sin has many aspects, many facets. And because of that, we need to be careful. We don't want people to be infected. We don't want people to pay fines. We don't want people in the eyes of the law to get in trouble. We don't want to gross people out by making a meal for them when they come over with hands that are all dirty and got garden dirt and everything all over them. So because of this, in all those cases, we want cleansing. We want cleansing. We want to be clean. And that's what the story's about, that the blood of Jesus cleanses us from all sin. And then it says, if we say we don't have sin, well, then we're liars. And you have to think about that. There is a risk. There is a risk that I could transmit corona to somebody. There's a risk that there's some rat disease from the garden waste or the plants in the area that I could pass on. All that's a risk. I don't want that. I don't want that. Good evening, folks. Is he friendly for me to pass by?
Yeah, she's fine.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening.
See you later.
So, that's what I've been meditating on since I read 1 John chapter 1. I thought I'd share it with you. I did a bit of cleaning, washing up. I did thinking about Corona. I did thinking about the test and about paying fines. And I was relating what I read in 1 John chapter 1 to that. Thinking all the consequences, all the reasons. And knowing a little bit about the Jewish purification rites involved in the sacrificial system. So, yeah. I wonder how you think about that. It's 1 John 1:9 that's 1 John 1:9? Yeah, that says, if we confess our sin, he is faithful and just to forgive us our sin and cleanse us from all unrighteousness. And I just wonder what your thoughts are on that. Have you read that? Have you meditated on it? Have you mulled it over in your mind? Have you found yourself trying to figure out what it means? I said this morning, in my live video this morning, I said that I'm a bit of a Jesus fanboy. I'm looking for wherever he is. And I like to know the stats. I like to know the ideas. As a Jesus fanboy, I'm kind of an anorak. I'm kind of one of those people who wants to know all the details, kind of like a train spotter, but for Jesus, a Jesus spotter. And here in 1 John 1, I've spotted him. And I want to think about it. I want to think about his relationship to the Father. I want to think about what I think it's talking about is his eternality, that he's life and light, that somehow being attached to that is joyful, that he produces joy. What an amazing thing to think about a person. So I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about how being related to Jesus produces all those results. But I'd be interested to read what you think. Especially if you have meditations or thoughts on 1 John 1. If a verse sticks out to you, if you got a question from it, if you've spent any time mulling it over, what it means to you, how you might interpret it. If you're a Jesus fanboy, if not, why not? Are you anybody's fanboy? Are you a fanboy of anyone? Are you kind of, in a way, I don't want the word idolize is so negative, but yeah, you putting anyone on a pedestal? Is there anybody that's got an idea or a concept or a philosophy that pushed your button? I'd like to hear about it. You know, when somebody likes a particular footballer or a particular football team, they're quick to compare. You might compare Peter Sagan and Cavendish. There's a fair comparison to Tour de France, professional bicyclists, cyclists, both sprinters. And if you're a fan of one or a fan of the other, you might be able to describe why you're impressed with the performance or the other person and compare them. I'd be interested to know what you got to compare with Jesus. Life, light, cleansing blood, joy. Well, that's what I'm thinking about. Have a good night.